India's space agency launches a rocket from its facility north of Chennai. On board a $15 million test craft. It hopes will mark an important step towards the country's first reusable space shuttle. After climbing to an altitude of 70 kilometres, the craft re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, exposing it to temperatures up to 2,000 degrees Celsius.
Whether the thermal coating on the space plane can withstand that kind of a heat pressure is one thing that needs to be sort of vetted at this particular stage.
Until now, only the US, USSR, Japan and Europe have successfully launched reusable shuttles. NASA's Space Shuttle was a vital part of its space program for 30 years. It flew 135 missions until it was decommissioned in 2011. Now the US has this. It's Air Force's X-37B orbital test vehicle. It's currently in orbit, it's been there for the last year, and it's on its third unmanned flight. However, its secret activities have provoked speculation that it's a spy satellite or it's being tested to deliver weapons from space. Then there's the Dream Chaser, the shuttle private space company Sierra Nevada is working on to service the International Space Station. Its first trip is planned for 2019. And then, of course, India's space shuttle. It's in a much earlier stage of development. It's being reported that it has between 10 and 15 years of work left in it before it will come into service. In 2014, India celebrated putting a spacecraft into orbit around Mars, making it the first Asian nation to do so.
There is a flourishing military space program under the Chinese military leadership, and that is a direct challenge for India, which India has to respond. Otherwise, we are going to be left lagging behind.
India plans a number of further tests of the technology, including the supersonic scramjet engine it hopes will one day power the spacecraft. It says its Mars mission cost about 1/10 of that of other missions to the Red Planet, and if its reusable space shuttle can achieve the same savings, space travel will be much more affordable for all. Tarek Basley, Al Jazeera.
Start
10, 9, 8.
ఒక నిమిషం
కనబడుతుందా?
సీను
ఉన్నా సుబ్బు ఉండరా అడ్డని అయిపోయింది నాకు ఎవరు అయిపోయింది ఆ నుంచి ఎంఎస్ ప్రాణాలు ఉంటాయి.
Does this change India's economy here, and how?
At this stage, I would say that the successful launch of this mini space shuttle is a technology demonstrator. It has the potential because one of the distinctive features is the low cost with which this particular shuttle has been launched and the experiment has been deemed successful. I would not extrapolate this to say that it would make any immediate difference to the Indian economy. But in the long term, India could emerge as a credible player as far as the use of space shuttles are concerned in a number of applications. So to that extent, I think the economic returns or the economic benefits to India are for the long term and not for just now.
Well, absolutely. We've seen that economic return play out under the NASA program that has spawned innovation from the United States that has really, truly changed the world in which we live. But still, India is only spending a fraction of what NASA spends a year. $19 billion budget for NASA. India just a fraction of that. So really, how much impact can it have?
Well, I think that really is, as I said, the distinctive feature that if you look at the NASA program as the benchmark and what India has done over the years, the cost is about 1/10, and that's saying a lot. Now, this particular experiment or the technology demonstrator of today cost a little under $15 million. Now, it's about 95 crores in Indian rupees. Now, if you look at the comparable figures for the other countries that have preceded India as far as space shuttles are concerned, and this includes the United States, Russia, France, Japan, China, you do observe that India's real advantage, what it brings to the table, is the ability to get a much higher return in terms of the domain capacity or capability for the fiscal investment. And I think as we go ahead over the next decade, if India is able to position itself appropriately, I think there is going to be an enormous benefit both for India and a number of countries that would like to take advantage or benefit from the low-cost option that India provides. And as you rightly pointed out, there are a number of applications where a credible capability in terms of space launches could have a number of dividends. And at the end of the day, I think the way in which it would impact the socio-economic and the development agenda would be of considerable value, I think, to India.
India has successfully launched its first ever homemade space shuttle model called the Reusable Launch Vehicle Technology Demonstrator, or RLVTD. It was blasted off on a rocket from Sriharikota spaceport at 7 a.m. local time. It was designed to reach an altitude of 70 kilometers and then plunge into the Bay of Bengal. Well, the Indian Space Research Organization developed the program on a small budget of about 1 billion rupees, or roughly $15 million US. And the aim is to make future satellite launches more cost-effective and much greener.
Advanced technology